Good morning, everyone. I'm coming to you from the Belfry Theatre, which is located on the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking people. I'd like to thank the Songhees and Esquimalt nations for the privilege of living and creating on this land, which they've cared for centuries, and which represents their language, their culture, and their identity. Welcome to B4Play. This is the first official event of our 2021-22 season. We missed the other one. And this is B4Play for Same Old, written by Jan Wood and James Fagan Tate. And Same Old will be live stream, no, not live streaming. It'll be presented as a film that we made, and it's going to be presented September 21st to 26th, and it's part of our subscription series. So if you buy a subscription to our 21-22 season, you'll get this film, and then you'll have 4 on-stage productions to attend. This is the 9th season of B4Play, and the 9th year that Gregor Craigie has been the host, and we're blessed to have him with us. B4Play was designed to provide information, insights, a window into the production that's coming up, so that you have some sense of some of the themes that are being dealt with and a chance to meet some of the creative team. So I will hand things over to Gregor, our fantastic host and CBC Radio's morning man. Thank you, Gregor.
Thank you, Michael. Nice to be back. I can't believe it's been 9 years, although in some ways the pandemic feels like it's been going on for 9 years or more, so maybe I can. It's so great to be back, and I'm really happy to see the Belfry and how it's persisted. It's nice to be back, even if in a virtual form, and I look forward to another B4Play in person with all of the live audience once again. But today I'm looking forward to hearing more about Same Old, in these new and unprecedented times, and some of the adaptations that the Belfry and all of the talented artists around it have made to bring the theater to us, the audience. Our first guest, we're going to dive right into it, is actor and playwright Jan Wood. Jan has taught acting at the University of Victoria since 1996, and her teaching is enriched by her involvement in productions. With the Belfry, she's performed in Half-Life, The Life Inside, and A Christmas Carol. She's also appeared at the Blue Bridge Theatre, in The Master Builder and All My Sons, Theatre Scam, and The Other Guys Theatre Company. One of her great joys is to work alongside former students, and what a thrill it's been for her to be directed by Caitlin Williams, the class of 2009, and to share the rehearsal hall with Peter Carlone, with the class of 2008, director of photography, and Becca Jorgensen as well, from the class of 2016, and assistant stage manager, as well as the many other Phoenix graduates who are employed at the Belfry. So Jan Wood, good morning. Welcome to B4Play.
Thanks, Gregor.
You're an actor, a playwright, and a teacher of young actors. Can you tell us how you became involved in theater and how you arrived at this point?
Well, sure. I think it was a pretty stereotypical journey for me. I had a really wonderful acting drama teacher in high school, and he got me interested in pursuing a career in theater. I studied at a conservatory university program, practiced as a professional actor for many, many years, and then I transitioned into my other love, which is teaching acting. I came to the university, as you said, in 1996, and I've been here since, teaching and performing as well.
And how important has it been over those years to keep performing, not just teaching? And I don't say that to diminish teaching, but, to have your hand in the craft, so to speak, as you go along.
Absolutely. Well, I've certainly grown as an artist since I've been employed by the university. And I think that has a great deal to do with the fact that my research activity, my creative activity, teaches me so much about my craft. And I can take my experiences of performance back into the classroom and become a better teacher. And hopefully my students learn from me.
Now, what about Same Old, without any spoilers being given away? Can you give us a brief description of the play?
Sure. It's about a married couple. They're in their 80s. So they've been married for over 50 years, 60 years. And basically, it's a series of non-sequential scenes that are interwoven together to reveal their daily life. And throughout the play, there is the character of the narrator or the stage manager who is an observer of their life, and he's sharing his insights about this couple with the audience.
And,
So it's a bit of a slice of life, same old routine for this couple.
is that intimidating as a playwright to write something that I mean, it sounds like part of the point of it is it's a slice of life. I mean, I wonder if you're ever tempted as a playwright to try to have to justify something by coming up with something that seems sexy or new or what have you, that isn't just by its own admission a slice of normal life.
Yeah, I guess the joy in writing it was that there was nothing extraordinary about these people. There's nothing extraordinary about me. There's nothing extraordinary about most people we know. That it's a reflection of what life is like when you're in a marriage, not particularly, but in your senior years in a marriage. You know, the events unravel, but there's no real highlights. It's not a roller coaster anymore as it can be when you're younger. You know, with my students, for example, I think the 4 years of university is a roller coaster, tremendous highs, tremendous lows. But things kind of even out, becomes an even keel. Yeah.
And can you tell us about the experience of creating this play? What have you gone through and how have you developed it?
Sure. The play was created over 2 years. So Jimmy and I are old friends. We've collaborated before, but never as playwrights. And we've always wanted to write something that we could perform forever. So when I was granted a study leave in 2019, one of the things that I wanted to accomplish was to connect with Jimmy and to write a project. So we got together. It just flowed so effortlessly. We had a very routine approach to our writing. We would go away to a coffee shop and we would each sit with our computer screens in front of us and we would write furiously for 3 or 4 hours. We'd go home, have lunch, then we'd read each other our scenes, no comments about them. We would just read. We did that for about a week. We ended up with over 100 pages of script. So we knew that we were developing something. We put it together. We did a little bit more writing. We had a workshop and a reading at the Spark Festival in 2020, which was literally moments before the theaters were shut down. But through that reading, it became apparent that this was a really important play and a play that the people present there really enjoyed. So with the support of the Belfry, we continued to develop the play. We did a workshop in the summer of 2020, so a few months into the pandemic, with our director, Caitlin Williams. And then it was programmed into the season, which of course never happened. But we were able to film it in June and July of 2021.
Does the story relate at all to your personal life?
Well, I think a lot of it we drew from our experiences observing the seniors that we know in our life, and particularly our parents. And also as the pandemic progressed, I was able to, as we continued to work on the play, I really reflected on my own relationship with my husband. We've been together 30 years, which is, you know, we're not quite in our mid-80s. But I think we all sensed that incredible isolation that happens during COVID, and that certainly can happen in seniors' lives, and great comfort with being with each other, with being with the familiar, and a kind of routine that we developed as the days and days and days passed, all seamlessly. Yeah. So I think that's what I drew on was our experience with the parents and my personal experience with my husband during COVID.
And so the play was filmed. And what was that like for you as both the playwright and an actor?
Yeah, it was odd having I've never filmed a play before, but we were in good hands with Caitlin and with Peter Carlone, who is our director of photography, and kind of Candelario, who edited the film. So it was, yeah, I knew I was confident as a playwright because I'd seen the reaction of the audience at the Spark Festival. And as a playwright, I was doing a little happy dance. As an actor, I was curious as to whether or not this play was good. So I didn't exactly trust my playwrights. But what I found through the process is that it is a good play. These are real people, and there was some astounding insights that I discovered through the process of working on the play and through the guidance of Caitlin. Astounding insights into the script and into these people's lives that I'm frankly not absolutely certain the playwrights knew were there. So yeah, it is a strong play, and I think that was my experience as an actor and playwright during that process of filming it.
That's interesting, though. I wonder if more playwrights might benefit from doing a turn at acting from time to time in some of what they're writing.
You know, I think there's something to be. I think there's a. You know, I'm not sure, Gregor.
I'm sure that would probably be a situation or play dependent, I guess, or
yeah, yeah. I think with a good script, with a good director, with good actors, a good play will emerge.
What do you hope audiences take away once they've seen it?
Yeah, I really think that there's some valuable insights into the process of aging and into relationships, and there's a lot of laughter in the play. Just hope that they leave with joy and hope as they consider their own aging and, you know, into death, that it isn't all doom and gloom, that aging can be beautiful, a beautiful journey through life. Yeah, the final journey.
Jen, thank you for this. Thanks for taking part in B4Play this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gregor.
Jan Wood is a playwright and actor. Same old, which is, as you've heard, streaming soon. The filming of the play is streaming soon on the Belfry website. Our next guest is no stranger to you, the artistic director of the Belfry Theatre, Michael Shamata, a director, writer, and teacher. He is the former artistic director of Theatre New Brunswick and the Grand Theatre in London, Ontario, and he's currently the artistic director of the Belfry Theatre, as I mentioned, but he also appears as an actor in the film of Same Old, Same Old. So, Michael, hello again.
Thank you. You can put actor in air quotes if you want.
Well, during the pandemic, there's been so much change. You've been unable to produce theater on stage. You've directed play readings on Zoom. You've directed 2 films. What's been the dark and the light of this? What have been the challenges and opportunities that all of these new experiences have presented?
Well, the opportunities, I think, have been, we've been able to, we were able to continue some kind of a connection with our audience and a presence. And, we felt it was really important to let our audiences know that we were still surviving. We were still, moving forward. And it was just great to be able to kind of keep that contact. And it was also the great thing was, we could hire actors from anywhere in the country because it was on Zoom. So it was great. We had interviews with people, elsewhere. We had playwrights from elsewhere, actors. It was a really great mix of programming that we did from September to December on Zoom. And then I guess the biggest challenge, there were challenges with doing rehearsals and play readings on Zoom. It's pretty limited. There's obviously no movement. So, but surprisingly effective with the right plays. Like if I felt like the choices of plays worked pretty well on Zoom. Big challenge, just I've never directed a film before. I didn't really know my way around that at all, but it was fun. It was great to experience that medium. It's for a director, there's a lot of I don't want to say control, but there's there's a different level of control that you have when you're filming something as opposed to being on stage. Even just so far as in directing the audience's eye. When you're watching a film, the film director has told you what to look at. When you're in a theater, hopefully I can direct a stage play in such a way that I have the audience looking where I want them to look, but they also have the liberty of looking at the whole picture, the whole time. So, yeah, just a different medium. I have to say, as we move forward, I hope that there are some opportunities for us to create some online content. I think that was the other bonus. I think was just learning how much, what the opportunities are with online, both with Zoom, like we're doing right now, and also with creating some films that we can share with our audiences. I think hopefully moving forward we'll keep a little bit of a hand in that medium.
And so what about Same Old, Same Old? What was it that attracted you to the play and that made you want to program it?
Well, I knew that Jimmy and Jan were working on it. I knew that from when they started. And Jan gave me a script to have a look at, and I read it, and I loved it. I loved the simplicity of it and the heart of it, the everyday, but the kind of beauty within that, and the love that is relatively unspoken in the play, but very, very present in the play. And then we did a reading of it at Spark, as Jan said, and the audience just the response was fantastic. We had about 60 people in the Belfry lobby, and a number of people came up to me afterwards saying, I hope you're going to program this, and just the response throughout was fantastic. It was it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It just kind of sang, and what's so great about it is it's so recognizable. And that's where both the humor and the joy for the audience was in knowing not these people, but knowing these kinds of situations, that the kind of dialogue that happens between a couple that's been together for a long time. So that was great. And then, as Jan said, we planned it we thought we were going to have a season this past spring, and Same Old, Same Old was going to be part of that. And when that couldn't happen, we decided to film it.
And you use the air quotes to describe you as an actor, but you're an actor in this production, Michael. And I'm curious about that. What's your past experience as an actor, and what was it like this play?
High school, a couple of high school musicals, one Moliere play. I wanted to be an actor. I wrote a play in grade 1. Like, the theater was where I was heading. And, I think most people, when they think they're going to the theater, think they're going to be actors. I spent a summer when it must have been, anyway, between grade 12 and grade 13 or something. I spent a summer in England working in a lighter factory. And while I was there, I auditioned for the Central School of Drama. And I can't imagine what that audition was like, because I really didn't know what I was doing. And it was a speech from ghosts. Like, it was just it must have been, I can't imagine what they were thinking or what they said when I left the room. But anyway, I was not accepted. I also auditioned for York University as an actor, was not accepted, but was accepted into the design program. And that was it. I hadn't done any acting since, well, even if you could call that acting. What happened with Same Old, Same Old was Jan and Jimmy just asked me if I would read the stage directions at the play reading during Spark, which I did. And the stage directions were more than he enters, she exits, things like that. Those were included, but there was also occasionally some insight into what one of the characters was thinking about. So they were more elaborate than just regular stage directions. But the I think the balance between the three of us seemed right. And when I asked them, said we wanted to program it, they said they wanted me to play that role. And I said, well, when we hired Caitlin, I said, there's no obligation to take me whatsoever. And we can do the workshop and you can get rid of me after the workshop. Like there's no, I really didn't, I was worried that I might be some kind of a lead weight for the production. So, but it was actually the actual filming of it, the rehearsals for the filming and then the filming, the play just kept revealing itself as deeper and deeper. And although, as Jan said, my character is an observer, it was impossible to not feel for these characters and have a sense that it felt like I knew where they were going, what their future was going to be, and that I had a little more information than they did. It just, it was impossible to not get involved in it. I wouldn't say that it's a performance, but I felt like I was invested in it. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. And anyone who watches it will see the beginning and the end of my acting career.
Well, never say never, but I'll leave the last word today on that to you. But we are going to watch it on film, and I wonder when you program a piece like Same Old or Being Here, the refugee project, and you intend them to be seen on stage for a live audience, but then you film them. What do you think is lost, and what's maybe gained in that transformation?
I guess the most obvious loss, I think, is just that wonderful thing of being together. Excuse me, and actors kind of floating an idea across the footlights and the audience receiving it, as a group and responding in different ways, but that is a communal experience. And I think that and what a live audience gives as well to the actors, and so that it's it really is a back and forth. It really is an exchange, and so that certainly is missing, and that's that's something that only ever happens in a theater or in a live performance. On the other hand, there are advantages to it, like the certainly with Being Here. For those of our audience who didn't see it, it's a verbatim piece. It's all based on interviews, so either one-on-ones or two people talking to an unseen interviewer. So in a sense, they're talking to the camera. It was not a terribly difficult thing to transfer visually, and it also it became more intimate. We were able to do real close-ups on these people, and I mean, at one point in it, one of the actors, there's this tear that just runs like just at the end of this speech, just before we cut, this tear ran down her cheek, which is a beautiful moment that would never have probably translated on stage. So for that piece, it almost, I hate to say it, but it almost worked better on film than it might have done on stage, though we're still hoping there will be a stage production somewhere in Canada in the future. And Same Old, the same thing. The opportunity to have the close-ups is great, but again, it's a piece I would love to see done on stage. There's just something about the whole thing, without the choices that the editor makes, that the director makes, that where we're going to do close-ups, where we're going to do a long shot. But there's some the film is very, very well made, and I know our audience is going to love it. It's terrific, and it certainly is a great version of this play. But I still love to see it on stage sometime.
Well, I'm interested in the aging couple, this older couple. I wonder, given that theme, what did it have you thinking of or reflecting of? Maybe it's your own parents or grandparents or others you've known in life.
Yeah, it's funny, as we as we were rehearsing it on stage, I kept bringing in more photographs of my parents and sticking them up back. I spent quite a lot of time kind of, I'm sort of in the periphery. There's a set, and then I'm sort of at the side of the set, and so I had all these kind of backstage areas that I could kind of hang out in. And yeah, I had photos of my mother, my father, and my grandmother there. And it was just, as the more we excuse me, the more we rehearsed, and as I said, the more the play revealed the beauty of this couple, and also where they're, as they're approaching end of life.
We may have lost Michael briefly. We'll see if we can get the connection back. Isn't this just a feature of modern life and the modern Zoom call that we're all becoming aware of? But Michael Shamata is talking to us about his own reflections on that. And Michael, if you're wondering why I'm interrupting you, my apologies. It's just that we've got you frozen on screen. We'll give it another second or two and see if the blockage makes its way through the Zoom pipeline, so to speak. Michael was just talking to us about his own reflections on the older people in his life, his parents in particular, and his grandmother. And it doesn't look like we're going to get him back here. And normally, if this were a live radio broadcast, we would just have a piece of trombone music or something like that standing by that we could press play on, and then I'll rush around madly trying to make reconnections. But as I'm discovering this last year and a half, you can't really fix these things in quite the same potentially graceful way. You're off, and exactly. So we could try. We could also put masks on, and or we could. We will probably. Oh, wait a minute! I think we're back, and we're back. And Michael is back. I don't even know if it's stage left or stage right. But there you go. Now you're back, Michael. That's the good news. And I can tell you where we last heard you. You were talking about how both your parents and your grandmother in particular, and you were looking back and forth at their photos and looking at more of their photos as you went along.
Yeah, I had photos down in my dressing room, and I had photos backstage of them. And it was just that the more time we spent with the play, the more, because of the age of the couple, there's an underlying theme of death in the play, and I was just very moved, and I was very at moments that I spend with Jan in the film, I was very, very, very conscious of my mother, and moments that I spent with Jimmy, I was very conscious of my father. It's a very potent and emotional piece. It's really. I was just more and more in awe of the writing and in love with the play as we went along. Yeah.
I asked Jan, Michael, but what about you? What do you hope audiences take away from Same Old, Same Old?
I think, that it's that funny thing when I remember years ago when my partner and I split up, and it's the small things that you miss. I think that to remember how important, just sitting and chatting about anything, or a TV show, or doing a Scrabble game, or it's the little things that seem inconsequential that are the things that are the glue, I think, in a real relationship. And just to value those moments and not take them for granted. And I think that's just how and how short this life is ultimately, even though at times seems long. That just to value every moment that we have.
Michael, thanks for this.
Thanks
for persevering through too.
Thanks, Gregor. Thank you.
Zoom issues. It wouldn't be a Zoom call without some kind of technical.
No, indeed.
I have yet to have a full Zoom conference call in the last year and a half without some kind of technical. To be honest, it's almost always me. So stay tuned for that. There's still a few minutes left to go. I'll probably accidentally unplug the laptop or something here. But thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Gregor.
Is, of course, the artistic director of the Belfry Theatre and acting in Same Old, Same Old. Our next guest is Dr. Debra Sheets, who is a gerontologist, a professor in the School of Nursing and a research associate at the Institute on Aging and Lifelong Health at the University of Victoria. Her research interests focus on aging, caregiving, dementia, and the impact of arts engagement on quality of life and well-being. Dr. Debra Sheets, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to B4Play.
Thank you so much, Gregor. It's really wonderful to be part of this discussion on Same Old, Same Old.
This is very topical to the play, of course, but in case anyone's unclear, can you tell us what is gerontology?
Yeah, gerontology is the study of the processes of aging, and we're different than geriatricians who focus on the medical issues that affect you as you get older. I'm more interested in the biopsychosocial aspects of aging. What are the things that can help people to age well? How can we educate people to plan for growing older? Because if you don't plan, you're not going to have a good old age. You need to do some retirement planning. You need to take care of your health. So there's lots of things we can do to help ensure that we grow old and enjoy it. It's a bit of a privilege to grow old. At the turn of the century, the average life expectancy was about 52. So we've come a long way in the last 100 years, but life still goes pretty fast, as Michael.
And I wonder about some of the practical ways that gerontologists help people. I wonder if you can think of a few examples here in Victoria.
Yeah, so we help people who are involved in caregiving or who are just growing older and need to identify resources like make accommodations to their home if they have hip problems or knee problems, hearing issues, getting hearing aids. We focus on education basically about aging and then helping people plan for healthy aging and retirement, ideally within the community. Only about 5% of people end up in nursing homes, actually. Most of us like to stay in our homes, and we just need a little bit more support as we get older.
That's interesting, and I appreciate that statistic. I mean, we've been talking so much about nursing homes, long-term care homes over the last year. It's good to put a number to that. About 5%, you say, are in those homes. What about couples? I wonder how important it is for people as they age, if they want to remain in those couples, and what are some of the implications of aging together in long married couples?
Yeah, we're really lucky if we have a partner to share aging with. Often, though, one person may have some health issues, heart problems, a stroke, dementia. And so the other partner ends up becoming a caregiver. And it's really important for caregivers to know that they don't have to do it all and to be willing to reach out. Of course, it depends somewhat on resources, unfortunately, but to hire people to help in the home, to help with, the housekeeping and so that you have time to actually have that relationship with your partner and not get kind of so caught up in caregiving that you have no energy to do the things that really matter, which are those relationships, right? It's taking time to really nurture the relationships and to listen to one another. The play is beautiful in that, they have these very short interactions. It's like they can just kind of cut to the chase. The dialogue is very snappy and very interesting. And yet it's really important stuff. Like when they're talking about this friend of theirs that's in the hospital and they want to go visit to say goodbye. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's, it points to they're aware of their own aging. They're in their 80s. We know we're not going to live forever. And they're seeing some of their friends who are at the end of their life and fairly close and having to deal with that. It makes us ponder and think about our own lives.
What about you talked about that 5% in care homes and the 95% presumably who are not then. So what about the importance of aging in place? So why is a term like that and healthy aging important right now?
Yeah, aging in place is so important. It's much easier we can't all do that. I mean, families live at a distance now, and there are health issues that sometimes require a lot more support than can be provided in the home. But we do know from some of the recent research done by the Seniors Advocate here in BC that a number of people who are in long-term care could have been cared for in the home if we had more supportive services in the community. So we need to advocate for that. We've got an election coming up in 10 days, and I have just written an opinion piece that'll be coming out tomorrow around that. Because unfortunately, I think our political parties still aren't doing much. We need to really press on them to help people to age in place, which is where they want to be, and they're less likely to have pandemic issues come up in their home setting, but the supports really aren't there yet.
That's interesting. You mentioned that COVID issues or pandemic issues in the home setting. How do you think COVID has been impacting long-term married couples?
Yeah, I think long-term married couples, it gives you more of an appreciation of the fact that you're not lonely. If you have a good relationship. Now, if you don't, it can create more stress and tension. But many people, by the time they've reached that point in life together, it is, as Jan mentioned, not a roller coaster. It's you let things go. You focus on the things that you appreciate, and you have someone to talk to. And I think the pandemic has been really hard on single people and couples. We feel pretty blessed to have someone to talk to wake up to, someone to touch too, because what I hear is that people, we haven't been able to hug, to touch each other because of the pandemic, and with a couple, you've got each other. And so that's such a blessing.
What about the social interactions? I wonder if you can talk about how people have been, and older couples in particular, have been affected by the decline in social interactions because of COVID, and why are social interactions, cultural activities, belonging in that personal way, why are they important, perhaps more important as we get older?
Yeah. They're so important to our overall psychological health. I mean, our physical health, we know what we need to do to maintain that, but our psychological health, maintaining friendships across the life course. Many of us in midlife don't take the time to maintain those friendships. We're busy with work, we're busy raising families, and we get to retirement and look around and think, what friends do we have if we don't have a partner? Sometimes you have to really work to cultivate those friendships. And so we need social connections to stay connected to our communities. It promotes our psychological well-being. It keeps our brains healthy. It helps us take better care of ourselves physically. So the social aspects are so important as we get older. We lose a lot of our friends too to death. And so, or just for other reasons, they move. And so being able to develop new friendships, to have interests, to stay engaged in life, that helps you have a good old age. If you're just sitting at home watching TV very passively, that's not going to promote your well-being.
We think of, stereotypically anyway, Vancouver Island as having a high proportion of seniors in the population. What can you tell us about the actual numbers? Are there quite a few seniors here? And how do those numbers impact our communities here?
Yeah. So Vancouver Island has over 800,000 people, and about 10%, we're a little bit higher than the rest of Canada. About 10% of people on Vancouver Island are older adults. But we have little clusters, like I live in James Bay, and about 30% of the people living here, it's like I'm in a little laboratory for aging. I get to see it just walking around my community. Parksville, we all hear about Qualicum Beach, and Parksville are kind of areas that attract a lot of people from all over Canada. And they're very active communities up island. The challenge of living even though Parksville and Qualicum Beach aren't that small, they are more rural. And the challenge is, as you get older, you may have some health issues. And the reality is the big hospitals are here in Victoria. So you may have to travel long distances to get some of the supports or healthcare that you need. There just aren't the resources in rural communities to help people to age in place. That's one of the things we need to address.
That's interesting. What do you think about your own neighborhood? Why do you think there is such a large elder population in James Bay?
Yeah, I think James Bay is just really walkable. And I'm not sure why it's become quite, why we've ended up with quite so many older adults, but I suspect the fact that it's so walkable has a lot to do with it. You can get around it with a walker, with a scooter. It has everything you need, stores and whatnot. So that makes it easy to age in place.
I want to ask you finally how you feel about this topic being put into art, and how you feel about the portrayal of some of these issues that you deal with on a professional basis and a real life basis, reflected on the stage or in a play anyway.
Yeah, I want to commend Jan. Well done, and a really interesting and provocative, and showing, just these little moments in people's lives. And I think we'll have lots to talk about after this play, and I hope hope lots of people see it and we find ways to get together and talk online.
Thank you for joining us at B4Play. It's great to have you with us here.
Thank you.
Dr. Debra Sheets is a gerontologist and a professor in the School of Nursing at UVic. Our final guest is Counsellor Rick Bergh, an educator, counselor, thanatologist, and trained in narrative therapy. And he joins us now. Rick, good morning. Thanks for joining us on B4Play.
Great to be here, Gregor.
Can you tell us a bit more about your professional background as a counselor for older adults and longtime married couples, first of all?
Yeah, you bet. So I started out my career as an ordained minister. So obviously serving a number of different congregations, rural and city, and spending a lot of time with older folks. And then it kind of evolved to more clinical education, serving in hospitals and in hospices. Then it moved on to narrative therapy, which is a particular counseling practice, and really kind of focusing upon grief and loss. So I do a lot of grief and loss right now in my life. So obviously as people age, there's a need for that type of service as well. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on how I deal with married couples over the years in a variety of different capacities.
Now, I mentioned some of those capacities in the introduction, and one of the words I used was thanatologist. So what is thanatology?
Yeah, I mean, thanatology comes from two Greek words, than, death, and logos, study. So the study of death, dying, and grief is basically what the definition is. So I'm a party in a box, Gregor, I'll tell you. When somebody wants to hang out with me to talk about that stuff. So that's really kind of what I do. I write books on that. I educate, and a lot of my practice is to deal with end of life and grief and loss.
Now, what about this narrative therapy? What can you tell us about how storytelling and narrative therapy might help some of your older clients and how you use it?
I love it. I love narrative therapy and storytelling because really, when you're working with older adults, I mean, they're rich in their story. They've lived life. They have all these wonderful stories of transition and loss and hope and joy and everything that comes with it. And so, when I'm able to meet with my clients, the older adults, I remind them that their final chapter has not been written yet. There's still a story to be told. And so I really want to engage people, in that story and say, you can contribute, you have purpose, you have so much more to give. So continue that story as aging adults in this society that you live.
Why do people come to you for counseling, or what are some of the most common reasons that they come to you for counseling?
Yeah, I mean, transition, obviously, I mean, you look at 65 on, I'm kind of looking at that age group. I mean, even, people come to me following retirement, wondering, what do I do? What's next? I'm having challenges of trying to discover what my identity is really now, as an individual. And then, of course, as we age, we know, there could be health problems. That people come to me following a diagnosis and wondering, how do you transition? What happens, when your loved one is diagnosed with cancer or dementia or some chronic illness? How do I let my children know about that? How do I manage that now as a different part of my life? People come to me to talk about end of life. What do I do? How do I get ready? What do I need to have in place? How do I have the conversations with my children? I think a lot of people kind of, neglect on dealing with that type of issue. And finally, it comes to the point they go, I need somebody to talk about this with. So, and of course, grief. I mean, I deal with a lot of people following the death of a partner in their life. And so all kinds of transitions, all from, retirement to grief following the loss of a loved one and everything in between.
And I can imagine that the death or how to talk about it or how to deal with it is a more common topic among older people. But are there other differences that you notice when you're the people seeking therapy from your seniors versus considerably younger?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's actually a real delight to work with older adults because they have wisdom, first of all. So I mean, they're becoming it's almost like you're in the presence of wisdom. And they're teaching you something about life, as a younger individual. And so it's a joy actually to kind of tap into their wisdom and again, kind of indicate to them, you've had this experience, you've had experiences prior. You're going to be able to make it through. You're resilient already because you've lived 75, 80 years. And so as a narrative therapist, I always want to dig into those stories, that they've come through already, and to show them you've done this, you can manage, you're able to adapt. And so I think that's a real big difference. Is not I'm trying to impart wisdom, I'm trying to tap into their wisdom and to show them that they're going to be okay at whatever comes their way in their life.
What about married couples? Because of course, same old focuses on this married couples. I wonder what you've observed or thought counseling married couples over the years. What are some of the advantages and perhaps disadvantages of being married to the same person over a long time?
Well, I can't see too many disadvantages, to be honest with you. I mean, the only thing I could think of sometimes is, a complacency kind of can set in, and you kind of the same old, I guess, like things are just kind of the same. But it's I think the advantages of that, they have this lived experience. They've developed this relationship with one another. The little things, as I think people have indicated, don't bug them as much. They begin to joke about those things that are unique to their marriage, and make it actually kind of special for them. So I just see, the more that we, love somebody, the more that we continue to fall in love with them as we age, just a deeper relationship. I mean, I just love, walking around the harbor, for example, and seeing a couple, holding hands, and they're 85 years old, or someone in their walker and a partner just helping them along. And there's such, I don't know, just such deep love and commitment in this journey. So, man, I don't see any disadvantages. I just see it's all up for us. I mean, it's just beautiful watching these elders and these aged couples together.
Now, of course, people age in different circumstances, of course. Some people are living on their own when they're seniors. Some are living with their children, some in long-term care facilities, as Debra was mentioning, about 5%. How have you noticed these different circumstances influencing the quality of communication and their overall relationship?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really tough is for adults also is just, the things are taken away from them as they age as well. And, the independence that they had, and, as simple as, I can't drive my car anymore. That's a big thing for people, to adapt to. And, so whether they're living at home, if a home all of a sudden becomes like, you have to move out of that home, have to find another accommodation, or partners being separated from one another, one going to a care center, the other one not quite ready to. I think it's really difficult for people to sometimes manage that. I think it's difficult for families as well to adapt to that a little bit. The children, if they have children or grandchildren, they're changing. The parents are changing, or the grandparents are becoming less able to do things that they used to be able to do. And so I think, communication is key to be able to talk about these transitions openly, what I can do, what I can't do. And I think it goes a lot, again, going back to narrative therapy, it goes back to identity. Your identity is who you are, but you can't always do the things that you used to be able to do. So I'm still who I am, but I just can't manage these things anymore. And that's okay. I'm going to have a different relationship with you, but it's still one that can be meaningful and purposeful, and still wonderful, filled with happiness and joy. So, again, communication is always the key. And I think people need to continue to just share that, be open about the changes that are going through in their life, and how the relationship can be a little bit different now, but still fine.
We've heard how this is a play with a lot of humor. How do you think humor can help people in aging? I wonder how humor and resilience can both be real assets as we get older. Yeah,
I mean, there's so many stories of humor that just touch me from older couples, the way they kind of get under each other's skin a little bit, but joke about it. And I've learned a lot about humor actually in my grief practice, to be honest with you, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But when I engage people who have lost a partner, I always ask a question to them. What do you miss? You know, what do you miss about Rick? What do you miss about Debra? What do you miss about Michael? And so often the stories are these humorous stories. I miss that incident where, you know, so-and-so did this to me, or so-and-so did this to me. And, you know, it's kind of like, I kind of tease my wife once in a while. I'm getting older now. But, you know, one of the things that I seem to have a problem with in my life is securing lids on containers. I don't know why, it's just me. I always leave partial lid on the pickle jar, or the juice container, or the mustard container, you know. And, you know, our famous phrase is, you know, and we laugh about it. And our famous phrase is, someday you're going to miss that.
Yeah.
Someday you're going to miss that. And those are the little things I think that that are talked about in the play as well. Some of these little things that we're going to miss that maybe, you know, bug us a little bit now, but really are the teasers, the thing that we can laugh about as a couple. And I've seen the difference so often with couples that are able to both laugh at themselves and to laugh with each other. And I think that's such a key, I think, also as we age, that hopefully I think I'm more able to laugh at myself now than I was 20 years ago, because I know I'm not perfect. I have these funny things about my life, you know, that drive other people crazy, but it's who I am, you know. And so I think humor is a gift, and we have to be able to laugh, you know. And I think it does. It's part and parcel with resiliency. We become more resilient. We can put those things aside and say, it's okay. It's a funny thing. It happened today. It'll probably happen the next day. And it's okay. It really is.
Rick, it's great to have you with us as well. Thank you so much for this. Good to have you with us at B4Play.
Thank you, Gregor.
Rick Bergh, our final guest at B4Play this morning, an educator, counselor, thanatologist, and trained in narrative therapy. Good to have you with us, Rick Bergh, and thank you to all of our guests, Jan Wood, Michael Shamata, Dr. Debra Sheets, and Rick Bergh. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this Zoom call and being patient through our technical difficulties. I know it's not always the same. Well, frankly, Zoom isn't the same as being online, but it's what we can do for now, and it's nice to be back with you. Thanks to the Belfry Theatre for inviting me again. I'm used to, at the end of this, Michael, reminding people that they can walk right by the box office. But I guess people can go, if they want to buy tickets, they can go to the virtual box office at the Belfry website. Is that right?
Yes, and they can also come in person to the Belfry box office. Yeah, and same old is September the 21st to the 26th is when it'll be broadcast.
All right, so the box office is virtually open or in person, and we look forward to seeing you at another B4Play soon. Thanks, everybody.